I'm Paul, and this is Check Your Shelf. You may notice someone to my left or to my right, depending on how this gets edited, isn't here today. Usually we record on Wednesdays, and this Wednesday he happens to be busy, so Steve and I couldn't get together. But we are planning on getting together IRL, as the kids say, on Friday. So we're going to put something together for you guys then. Don't know what yet. Might be a book haul, thinking about hitting half price books. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So instead of our usual shenanigans, uh, some of you may know this. A lot of you probably don't know this, but I have another channel called The Doomed Wizard. This is my little Doomed Wizard up here. Give him his little day in the sun. My oldest made this for me. As you might be able to figure it out, it's a role-playing game channel. And about a year ago, I thought it would be kind of fun to. I experimented with the idea of doing book reviews on my role playing game channel, and I wasn't really happy with it. And I decided to invite Steve on board. And of course, if you've seen any of our videos before, you can kind of tell how that went. But rather than use your imagination, I thought, kind of like if you've seen the Mountains of Madness video we did, which I'll link at the end of the show, that was also done on the Dune Wizard channel through the magic of editing. So what I'm going to do today is another episode we did wherein we covered one of our other favorite books, 2001, A Space Odyssey, which if you saw the beginning of this episode, you probably figured that out. Anyway, I'm rambling, which is why I don't like doing solo videos. So without further ado, here's our review of 2001, A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. Hey, folks, we had so much fun doing the Mountains of Madness that we thought we'd talk about one of our other favorite books of all time. That would be 2001, A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke.
Hopefully, this week's book is by someone who's less racist. I'm not going to say not racist because I just don't know. And also because it was the 60s. So, and as my friend said, everybody was racist in the 60s.
That's right. Okay. Yep. No matter what you did.
But the book is 2001, A Space Odyssey. And it's one of the interesting things to me about it was, is it a movie or is it a book? Is it a movie based on a book or is it a book based on a movie? And the backstory there is, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but my understanding is Stanley Kubrick reached out to Arthur C. Clarke because he was a fan. I mean, who wasn't?
Right.
If you're into sci-fi, who wasn't an Arthur C. Clarke fan? My understanding was Stanley Kubrick reached out and said, I have this idea for a movie, but I want the movie to be based on a book, and I want there to be a book based on the movie. He's like, what exactly are you smoking, and what are you talking about? He's like, well, here's my idea. Do you want to write the book? And he's like, sure. So the book and the movie were written, so the novel and the movie were written at the same time, basically. Yeah. So that's why they track so well together.
I mean, 2001 did start, it is loosely based on The Sentinel, which is a short story that Clarke had written before this.
Maybe Kubrick read the short story and was like, that could be a movie, but can we make it a novel?
Yeah. And it's rare that I read forwards in a book, unless I've already read the book, and then I'll read the forward because there's too many spoilers sometimes.
Yeah,
but, yeah, I remember reading something about that.
Speaking of spoilers, this book came out in 1968, so you've had time to read it. But if you didn't, that's okay. You can pause and go read it now so that we don't spoil it too much for you.
Yeah.
Or the movie. We'll be spoiling the movie too. So the basic plot
by association
synopsis here is, it starts out with the music that Paul so eloquently sang, Also sprach Zarathustra, and it opens up in way prehistoric Earth, like, I don't know, millions of years ago. But you have primates, banging around, fighting over water rights. Man, things haven't changed much. Anyway,
the more they change, the more they stay the same.
They're fighting, they're trying to scare each other, these primates or whatever. and they're a lot of them getting killed by, it's hard. It's a hard life for a primate millions of years ago. Then this weird obelisk thing appears, and you get this music that tells you, something's happening here. And after these primates touch it and dance around it and whatever, now they figure out, oh, I can use a bone as a weapon and as a tool. And the implication is, they've been taught something. Something's happened in their
Yeah.
evolution. Their evolution has been influenced somehow by this weird obelisk thing that just appeared one day. Fast forward, some dude is going to the moon, top secret mission, can't tell anybody why he's going, but something wacky has happened.
There's
And
a virus on the moon.
the conspiracy theory is that what they tell everybody is that there's a
Yes.
virus to keep people from wanting to go check it out and try to figure out what's going on. And
Not realizing if we told them there's a virus, they would just run headlong into it.
yeah, 1968, we were naive and
Yeah.
thought that if you tell people there's a virus and you have to quarantine, they would go, "Oh, okay, all right, we'll
Mm,
quarantine then." Nowadays, I don't know what you would tell people to get them to stay away from something.
I think Clark was an optimist.
Yeah. So, really cool scenes of this dude going to the moon. Well, first going to this little space station and then going from the space station to the moon because it just looks like a commercial airliner. So you get
Hmm.
the impression that, the book and movie set in 1968, are not set in 19, written in 1968, set in the year 2001. So
Spoilers.
this was the vision of what things would be like in 2001.
Yes.
Regular space flight, regular trips to the moon. Yet, if you wanted to make a call home, you had to pay for that. If you wanted to call home from
Well,
space.
phone companies ain't never going to change.
They
You
did have
know,
video phones though.
I mean, the flight to the moon only cost the taxpayers $1 million, which was a steal compared to what it would cost in reality.
True.
But phone companies ain't going to change.
I don't think you can get a person in space for $1 million, just out of the atmosphere.
Hmm.
So he gets to the moon and we find out it's not actually a virus. It is another one of those obelisk things that they've dug up. And it's in perfect condition. And when they touch it, it just starts screaming.
Yes.
Ah, 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 don't touch me. Fast forward 18 months or so. Now we are on a trip to Jupiter. The guys on the trip don't know why they're going to Jupiter. They figure
Hmm.
they're just going because, why not? It's Jupiter. Who wouldn't want to go to Jupiter? Am I right? And, but the supercomputer, the what's called HAL 9000, an
Hmm.
AI superintelligence, it knows why they're going.
Yeah.
And when they get to a certain point, the program was supposed to tell them, this is why we're going. Okay.
Hmm.
This is where, like, you had Act 1 and Act 2, which are interesting, but it's
Hmm.
really Act 3 where we're now on our way to Jupiter with HAL 9000. That thing's really, like, this is the real action and the thing most people sort of think about.
The funny thing for me is like this the you're talking about Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. It's almost just three short stories. It's not
Yeah,
like
good point.
it's not like the Moonwatcher from the beginning shows up in Act 2 or anything like that. It's just, there's three separate stories. And I remember a long time ago when I was trying to write novels, and I thought, maybe I should write like a bunch of short stories and just link them together. That's crazy. That'll never work. What did I know? That was before I read this, apparently. Also, don't look for character studies in a Clark novel.
Oh, right, right.
They're very much just they're the plot. They're a plot driven device,
Yeah.
and he's got his points that he wants to get across, and he gets them across, and he gets them across in that way that only like British and English writers can, which is like through humor in a weird way. Because even though this is not a comedy, but the way he describes certain things is very. I'm beginning. I wonder if Douglas Adams read these books and was like, I know what I'm gonna do, because I was thinking about the Rendezvous with Rama. There's a little side tangent. There's a line in there in the beginning about how super expensive the telescopes are
Yeah.
and how renting the telescopes are so super expensive. But luckily, the a faulty washer that costs $1.50, it's just like, see, you know, that's to me that's that humor that he does
Yeah.
that I love so much.
It never occurred to me until I read Rendezvous with Rama
Hmm.
recently. And the forward there I read, I don't know if it was an introduction or a forward. I don't know the difference. But the,
It would say introduction or forward.
yeah, it was an audiobook, so I don't know which one it said.
Oh, okay.
But regardless, the person, it was by a different person. And he pointed that out. He's like, it's light on character development. So if
Hmm.
you're looking for, character study, it ain't here. And I never thought about that before. And I like rereading this, I was like, oh yeah, you don't really get to know these characters. Not even
Right, right.
HAL 9000. You don't really like get to know them, right?
You kind of get to know something about Hal that I've pondered for years, but I guess you could say Bowman has the biggest character development in the entire series because he
Yeah.
literally develops into something else.
So during this trip to Jupiter, the reason they're going to Jupiter is this screaming thing on the moon. They figured out was a signal being sent to Jupiter. So the reason they're going to Jupiter is to try to figure out what the heck was going on, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
on the journey, it was interesting. So HAL 9000 is interesting to look back on and think about because it's one of the things that in 2001, the year, we didn't have super intelligent artificial super intelligence yet.
We had
Uh,
Clippy.
we had Clippy. Yeah. I mean, there's been research in artificial intelligence since the 50s.
Hmm.
But we didn't have anything even close to what we have now. These large language models, for all their faults and for all the hype, the
Hmm.
unjustified, some of it unjustified, it is pretty amazing, right? And so
Hmm.
we're starting to get a glimpse of what it might be like. And reading HAL 9000, I go, okay, yeah, that's kind of the one thing that we're not at yet is they say HAL 9000 has never made a mistake.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, that's not true about our our
Yeah.
our artificial intelligence makes mistakes. And you raised a point recently that I had not never even thought about, which is if we have artificial intelligence now that is better at, say, chess or any number of
Hmm.
games than any
Hmm.
human being, right?
Hmm.
So what fun would it be to play a computer at chess?
Yeah.
But yet you see him playing in the movie you do in the book. It just talks about games.
Yeah.
Chess is one of the games. Why would you
Yeah.
want to play a computer when you just know it's going to win every time? So you made the point. It
Yeah.
was intentionally programmed to lose about half the time.
I think he was accidentally or unintentionally programmed to fail because you can't give a computer that runs a ship that keeps people alive the option of making a mistake. And it's pre-programmed to make mistakes. And as soon as it makes one, it just starts making more and more and more. When Hal goes on his killing spree, basically,
There's no better way to put it.
yeah,
Mass murderer.
one, like any good science fiction, it immediately turns to a horror story because that's kind of terrifying. The idea of getting put in suspended animation and that's it. It's like anybody that's ever gone under anesthesia or whatever knows there's always that option. But so his mistake is when Hal thinks that he's gonna get shut off, that he won't get turned back on again,
Mm.
and basically sabotages the mission. Maybe put a governor on that or something where only during games of chess are you allowed to make a mistake.
How many times have I read this? And I still don't know what the instigating thing is. Like, he claims that uh, that what's a who's it thing malfunctioned.
Hmm.
So dude goes out and changes the what's a who's it thing, and they examine it, and they're like, "There's nothing wrong with the what's a who's it." So
Yeah,
Hal made a mistake,
yeah.
but Hal can't make mistakes.
Well, yes, he can because he can lose at chess and various other games. So he's pre-programmed to make mistakes.
So do you think the mistake he made was there's nothing wrong with the thingamajiggy,
And
And he
then
didn't
when
and he didn't intentionally say there was something wrong with the thingamajiggy to get them to have to go do a
yeah, yeah,
unnecessary spacewalk.
he made a mistake on the satellite dish or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and as a result, he immediately panics and thinks that he's gonna get shut down
Ah,
like a
okay.
control alt delete and restarted.
Yeah.
And to him, that's the end. So then he immediately starts basically systematically killing everyone on the ship.
That's probably the part I misunderstood about the whole thing. No matter how many times I've read this, watched the movie and everything, I never got that part. I
Mm-hmm.
thought him, I thought he was pretending there was something wrong with the thingamajig
Right.
to get them to have to do a spacewalk unnecessarily so that he could kill them for some other reason that he had. And I could never figure out the other reason he had other than that they wanted to shut him down. He was like, I'll kill them before they could kill me. But I was like, they wouldn't want to kill you if you hadn't sent them on this
Yeah.
unnecessary errand. By the way, somebody said this on the internet, and I kind of agree with them. Once they replaced the thingamadoodle,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, well, there's nothing wrong with this one. So well, let's go put the original one back on. I'm like, we don't need to go put the original one back on. Just leave the other one there and I'll use this one as the spare. Anyway,
Yeah.
I always was trying to make this connection between Hal and the aliens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that maybe the aliens were like, we need you to kill everybody or something. But no,
Mm-hmm.
Hal made a mistake.
Yep.
Um, they were going to shut him off because he made the mistake because they were worried about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, screw that.
Yeah.
You're not shutting me down. And your point is, it would have been fine because they would have
Yeah.
brought you back after the mission and you
Yep.
would have been fine.
Yep. Now
Okay.
see, now the thing is, see that's what got me to read this book because I'd seen the movie a couple of times and liked it obviously, but I kept sitting there thinking like what drove me was why did Hal do what he did?
Yeah.
There's got to be something in these pages that would because Clark is too meticulous of an author.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who takes what 250 pages to tell something that most people couldn't tell in 800 pages,
Right.
every single word is thought out. So there had to be a clue in here somewhere. And when I came across that and that thought, and I was trying to find it, and you looked it up for me because you were faster than I was.
I have the
Um,
internet.
yeah, that's what it clicked. And my other obsession with the book and the rest of the series because I read all four books. I mean, spoiler, you don't have to read anything but 2001. They're all good books, but 2001 is head and shoulders better than all of them because of, it was the first one. It had the initial idea. It was very well done. Uh, I wanted to know what the deal was with the Star Child. Not the psychedelic experience that Bowman goes through. That because I know how the cosmos works. It was what was he, you know? So I started reading the other books, and I got a couple of bones to pick with Clark about what the Star Child is, but it's his book, man.
Do you want to know what Kubrick had to say about that?
Sure.
Because I was curious about that too. So
Okay.
I did a little poking around and found an interview with Kubrick, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, well, if you at the end you've got the old dudes in the whatever that is, like
Mm-hmm.
French colonial looking bedroom with the pod sitting there,
Yeah.
and you see him as the age he is, and then you see him a little older, a little older, a little older. Kubrick is like he's in a zoo, right?
Yeah.
That's which is why the room isn't quite exactly right. They made a room they thought he might feel comfortable in,
Yeah.
but it's not exactly right, which is exactly what we do with animals in a zoo, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
oh, he's in the savannah. It's like it's not quite the savannah, that concrete block over there. But
Yeah.
anyway, so then they studied him and he's in a zoo and he gets old. And once they're done with him, they, Kubrick describes it as every mythology on earth, whether it's Christians, prehistoric, Muslim, all the mythologies have a returning to somewhere and
Mm-hmm.
becoming almost a godlike being and
Mm-hmm.
a perfect godlike being. He said that's what they do with him at the end. They turn him into this godlike, perfect being, which
Yeah,
just happens to be a star child.
they essentially they essentially at least as I gather, uh, he's basically one of them because these people have moved on from
Yeah, they've
physical
ascended.
form, so they're just like they're these intelligent energy forms, and that's basically what he turns. It's what he turns Bowman into, but what he does with Bowman in future books just aggravates the piss out of me.
I haven't read the future books yet, but first of all, on page 100, which unlocks I'm really glad you brought that up. It unlocks the entire mystery of why Hal did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, he's so judicious with his words. For relaxation, he could always engage Hal in a large number of semi-mathematical games, including checkers, chess, and polyominoes. Must
Sure,
be like dominoes, but
we had those in 2001.
if Hal went all out, he could win any one of them, but that would be bad for morale. So he had been programmed to win only 50% of the time, and his human partners pretended not to know this. and then he makes
That's that dry humor, that little
yeah.
bit at the end. And the crazy thing is like I don't, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, you know, I figured it out, I cracked the code, but I've never heard anybody talk about it. I'm like, so am
Yeah.
I wrong? Am I am I reading too much into it? I don't think I am. I mean, if y'all have ideas, let me know down below
It's
your
as good an
ideas about
argument
it.
as anything, man. I also love this passage, the very last two paragraphs, because it's exactly how it. Oh, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. I'll read it and I'll tell you what it reminds me of. So, as we just said, according to Kubrick, not according to Clark, but according to Kubrick, he has ascended and become a godlike being like them,
Mm-hmm.
right? It says, then he waited, marshaling his thoughts and brooding over his still untested powers. For though he was master of the world, he was not quite sure what to do next. But he would think of something.
Yes, which bookends Moonwatcher,
Ah,
because towards the end of Moonwatcher's story, he's like he wasn't sure what to do with this knowledge, but he'd think of something.
think of something.
Yeah. So you got these
The
two major leaps
yeah,
mirroring each other, which is great. You know,
yeah,
and by adding that bit at the end, it really drives home the beginning. So
yeah,
so you're not gonna miss it.
yeah. I believe it's the Mormons who believe that when you go, when you die, your version of heaven is basically you get your own planet
Mm-hmm.
and you get to be God of your own planet and do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, this planet and the one we call God is just somebody who lived before and
Yeah.
got their own planet. And when I read this now, I can't not think about that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm dead. Oh, I have my own planet. What do I
Right.
do now? I'll think of something.
I'll think of something.
It's wild. This is like it really makes you think.
And that's ultimately I think that's the goal.
Yeah, I do recommend it in case you were going to ask.
Well, that was gonna be my final question for the cap for the episode.
On a scale of 1 to 2001. All right, scale. Why is the cat looking at me like that?
Because they're a cat.
Is it I think it's the crinkling.
Oh.
He hates bags. Anytime a bag
Mm.
comes in the room, he runs off. So on a scale of, I was trying to figure out, a scale of 0 to 2001, I give it a 2001.
On a scale of 0 to 2001, I give it a
A
3001.
3001. Perfect.
Are you in or out? My cat's trying to get in. So there you have it. In the immortal words of Troy McClure.
They haven't changed a bit, have they?
So yeah, like I said in the beginning, Steve and I are getting together later on this week to make a video for you guys. Don't exactly know what it'll be. I'm Paul. The next time you're looking for something to read, as Steve would say, check your shelf.